Here are 7 striking similarities between Putin and George W. Bush. For almost 100 years, Russia has bought or copied inventions from the West. If you want the details, I suggest to you get a copy of the famous book, The Best Enemy Money Can Buy, written by Anthony Sutton. It turns out the Russians also copy Western leaders. Here's striking similarity number 1 between Vladimir Putin and George W. Bush. They shot to fame because of terrorism. George W. Bush started out as a lame, aged frat boy turned Christian cowboy, but became the leader after the attacks of September 11th. Putin was initially regarded by his Russian mentors as an easy-to-control, untalented, and bland nobody. But when the 1999 bombings took place, he became a superstar. In both cases, many people consider these attacks to be inside jobs, intelligence operations designed to make the population crave a mighty Führer. Striking similarity number 2, they have a background in intelligence. Now, of course, George W. Bush never struck us as a James Bond master spy or Jason Bourne field agent, but his father used to run the CIA, and they're all members of the scary Skull and Bones Society. Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, was director of the successor to the KGB for a few years, which of course is super creepy. Similarity number 3. They make oil money and got their friends rich. I don't need to repeat how much the Bush presidents are involved in the energy business and how they made fortunes for their buddies. Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, claims he barely owns anything and works like a slave. But many insiders consider him to own tens of billions worth of assets. His old friends are now billionaires and walk around with watches that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, while the average worker in Russia eats crappy food in his small, moldy apartment. Number 4. They became known for the war on Islamic terrorism. George W. Bush will be forever known as the bumbling crusader against Al-Qaeda, Saddam, and Afghani warlords. Few people in the West know, however, that Vladimir Putin copied the whole war on terror blatantly. Chechen Muslim terrorists became the grand enemy of the Russian state, and the war against the breakaway republic was long and vicious. While Western citizens were shocked to find out about Guantanamo, Russians pretty much shrugged off the many dark sites and torture prisons used to squeeze Chechen POWs for information. Because that's how it's always been done in Russia. Number 5. They use a fake cowboy swagger. George Bush fears horses and almost suffocated from a pretzel, but he still put on a swagger for the cameras with boots, belts, and cowboy hats. Vladimir Putin spends hours each day working out and getting massaged, so he looks fresh for all the phony staged propaganda pieces where he's hunting, riding horses, and diving. Of course, in his past job as a KGB officer, he was a lame duck serving food to more important people. Then he became a politician in St. Petersburg stealing money. There are no known cinematic shootouts, wild card chases, or any other exercises in badassery in his career. Number 6. They are lazy. George W. Bush was a master vacationer and an okay golfer. Vladimir Putin reportedly spends hours each day in the gym and swimming outside of his Tsarist palace. Then he eats and starts reading intelligence briefings and stacks of newspapers, especially articles about himself. He keeps important people waiting, thus delaying important decisions about things he does not even properly understand, like the economy, the health system, or warfare. He hates actually doing work in Moscow or St. Petersburg, so he spends a lot of time in and around his palace. And finally, number 7. Striking similarities between Vladimir Putin and George W. Bush. There are serious gay rumors. Who could forget the scandal with George W. Bush and Jeff Gannon? All that cowboy love? Well, Putin, according to many biographers and researchers, has a weird and lonely private life. During his entire career, there were gay rumors from colleagues. So, Russians have been copying Western, bought or copied Western inventions from the West. Turns out they also copy Western leaders.